You're watching KLTX, Channel 15, serving the City of Lufkin.
Today on City Hall Update.
If we have a person that's in crisis, if they are threatening to commit suicide, or if they're in a structure barricaded, we can send the robot in without any harm to officers.
We had a bond issue in 1995 that told us that the community wanted a brand new high school. So that's when it was moved to the Loop. And the existing high school then became the middle school. And it's had very little work done to it since then.
The red ones, they represent the children that have been abused, and then the blue ones represent family members or secondary abuse victims.
Hi everyone, I'm Yana Ogletree and welcome to this edition of City Hall Update. We hope you'll never have to experience it firsthand, but the Lufkin Fire Department has just upgraded one of its medical units that will help first responders help you. We're talking about a stretcher that can load and unload itself under its own power, making it much easier, safer, and quicker when transporting a patient to a hospital for emergency care.
We got a new power lock cot and stretcher system on our new Med 3 ambulance that we just got. It's a new system that's out. They've been out for a while, but basically what they do is when you roll the stretcher up to the back, the new system sticks way out the back, and it you just roll it right up on it, and it automatically lifts it itself, takes all the weight for you, and I mean, you hold a button down is all you do. There's no picking up the stretcher even and sliding it back in the ambulance like there used to be. Years ago, we moved to the automatic stretchers that were battery operated, and they would lift themselves, but you still had to roll them in the back of the med unit. And this new system takes care of everything, automatically does it for you. So studies have shown that they save a lot of back problems and really save a lot of people from injury. And that's the whole thing we're trying to accomplish. So,
it's not just the fire department that has made upgrades in the last few months. Lufkin's police department has also been working with some new equipment that is making their jobs safer.
Our department's really happy to announce a few pieces of technology that we've acquired to make the officers safer and to make the citizens of Lufkin safer. The first piece of technology is a drone that we've acquired. Our drone has infrared capabilities, so at night, if there's a person who has wandered off, a kid has run away from home, we have an elderly person with Alzheimer's that we need to find, then we can use our drone technology. We can fly it, and with our infrared and our heat-seeking technology, we can look for a heat signature on the ground for the person, and we can safely return them home. We've used it already, deployed it about 4 times already. We've recovered one missing person with the drone to date. And we have 2 pilots that fly the drone that are assigned to the drone program. And then we have 1 pilot that's a ground instructor. So we were lucky enough to have an officer who's already a pilot who teaches how to be a pilot for small aircraft and unmanned aircraft as well. The second piece of technology that we're pretty excited about is our rescue robot. Our rescue robot is our second generation of robot that we own. Our first generation of robot was purchased about 8 or 9 years ago, and it was basically the chassis of this robot, a smaller version. We could go into a house and go into a structure, and we could look around, but we couldn't open doors. We couldn't manipulate items with it. So this robot is 100% rescue oriented. There are no weapons on the robot. The robot actually can't be fitted with a weapon. No tasers, no OC spray or anything like that. This robot's used if we have a person that's in crisis, if they are inside of a structure threatening to commit suicide, or if they're in a structure barricaded. We can send the robot in without any harm to officers, and we can slow the situation down so that no one is rushing into the situation, that the robot can act as our eyes and ears. If we do need to take medical supplies in and we don't want to have an officer in the line of fire, or if we want to take a note, or if we want to take anything that the person has requested, we can transport items back and forth, and also we can communicate with the person inside with the rescue robot. Anytime that we can use a piece of technology to make an officer safer or to make the citizens safer, we are all about trying to get funding through a grant like the drone. We used grant money from the Kurth Foundation. They were nice enough to allow us to purchase this. The City of Lufkin, they actually helped us obtain funding for the rescue robot, and we were able to get that in our fleet. And we were able to upgrade our old rescue robot to more of a digital technology. It was an analog technology, and now we have it upgraded as well. Some of the things that we worried about initially with our drone was just the idea of the government having a drone, and we didn't want anyone to think that we're going to use this to spy on anyone. It sounds like a mad pack of weed eaters flying around anyway, so it's not like we're going to sneak up on anyone with this drone technology. The drone technology, basically just our eyes in the sky. Anytime that we would have to in the past call a DPS helicopter, now we can put up a drone, and we can have a drone up in inclement weather where a helicopter can't fly. We can have a drone up a lot faster than we can call a helicopter from Houston. Before, our local DPS helicopter station was in Longview. They closed that station down and moved that helicopter to the border, and now we share a helicopter with the Houston station. So you can imagine how busy that aircraft is. So we can always have this available, and we also will make this available to any other county in the COG, any other police department or sheriff's department in the area that we can help. Also with the drone, we can assist the fire department. The FLIR on the front, the forward-looking infrared, like I said, it detects heat. So not only does it detect heat from a body, it can detect heat from a fire source. So if the fire department needed it and we flew over a structure, we could find hot spots for the fire department, and we could help them also locate personnel on the ground and give them a better overview of their firefighting capabilities and what's happening on the ground. Another piece of technology that we're going to use is going to be an armored vehicle. I think you've seen from news accounts of active attacks and active shooters where it really will be beneficial, once again, to keep the officer safe, to keep the citizens of Lufkin safe, to put that armored vehicle between a bad guy and between the good guys or between victims, or to be able to rescue victims from an active scene, such as an active shooter, an active attack. So we're lucky enough to apply for a grant with the Kurth Foundation, and they were able to help us supplement the cost of a armored vehicle. And we're going to use, to supplement more of the cost for the armored vehicle, we're going to use drug money that was taken from drug dealers and seized through the appropriate court. And then the City of Lufkin, they're going to put in the rest of the money. So it's going to cost about as much as a garbage truck would cost, but we're just not going to use it as much as you would use a garbage truck on a day-to-day basis. So we're really fortunate to be able to work with the community, have the community behind us to get this equipment, and we're really fortunate to have the backing of the city administration to help us get this equipment out in the field.
The Angelina County Sheriff's Office has just launched a new smartphone app. This free application can be found in your App Store, and it can be downloaded in English and Spanish. This tool gives users the ability to report incidents as well as upload media to the Sheriff's Office. Additionally, it provides incident, assistance, and arrest reports. Users can also make requests for public information, all from the convenience of their phone, anytime, anywhere. Spring has sprung, and so has the number of road construction and repair projects throughout the city. The nice weather not only has given new life to flowers and trees, but it has prompted a number of road work ahead signs to pop up along city streets. Whether it's at night or during the day, it's always an inconvenience to motorists to drive through work zones. But it is always important to slow down and pay close attention. When workers are present, drivers are required by law to move over to the further lane if available. If it is not, speed should be reduced by 20 miles below the posted speed limit. Always remember that traffic fines double in a work zone when workers are present. Now, for more information on where you can expect to see road work, keep an eye on the City of Lufkin's Facebook page. I'd like to welcome Deanna Wallace. She's the Executive Director of Harold's House to our show. She's been on here many times and always bring a good message about what's going on at Harold's House. There's fundraisers and just a lot of great work going on over there. So Deanna, thanks again for spending some time with us and telling us about the month of April, a big month for Harold's House.
It is a big month, so thanks for having me on. So April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. It's also Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So there's a lot going on between our activities at Harold's House, the Child Welfare Board, the Family Crisis Center of East Texas. There's probably 4 events every week in the month of April, bringing just awareness to the devastating statistics of domestic violence and childhood sexual abuse. So,
well, let's talk about those statistics. And I don't expect you to know them just off of the top of your head. But when you look at Angelina County as a whole, and you've been in this position for quite some time, do you see that these events are effective, that they're making a difference? Are we seeing, I guess it's kind of hard to tell, because if you're seeing more cases, then yeah, maybe it is. It's bringing it to the forefront. So not necessarily that the crime rate has gone up. It's just more, it's more top of mind.
It does. All these awareness events serve to, again, I don't believe the crime itself is going up. I believe the reporting of those crimes are going up. So we do see more cases each year. Last year over 47,000 kids were seen across the state of Texas by 70 CACs, Children's Advocacy Centers like us.
That's awful.
It's
good that they're coming to the forefront, but it's awful that there's 47,000
Right,
cases.
and over 70% of those were sexual assault cases. So all these efforts at awareness really are teaching the public and youth-serving organizations and people who work around these youth how to recognize these signs and where to report them so that we can get these kids the help they need.
So looking at such a broad number, when you bring it down to a local perspective, drove by Harold's House just recently and noticed all those beautiful pinwheels. You can't help but notice it.
Yes.
What does that represent?
So each of those pinwheels represents a person who came through our centers last year at Harold's House. So there are 350 red pinwheels representing primary child victims that came to us, and there are almost 800 pinwheels representing their non-offending caregivers and siblings who were all secondary victims to that crime through witnessing it, or that need some sort of counseling services to deal with what happened to their sibling themselves.
Yeah, and a lot of times you don't really think about that secondary victim, if you will. I mean, the focus is always on, or in the public eye, that is always on the person who was directly impacted, and you don't really stop and think, yeah, there are other children in that household who may have witnessed that. and maybe has some lasting effects from that.
Absolutely. A lot of times the siblings and the non-offending caregivers, they're under extreme guilt for sometimes not knowing this was happening at all, or worse, knowing it was and being unable to stop it themselves. Especially younger siblings, they're often threatened by perpetrators. If they tell, they're going to do something worse to their siblings. So it is. Those secondary victims often need as much counseling as the primary victims do.
So there are so many organizations, great organizations in our area. You all work closely together to bring this to the forefront, to help those victims and help families mend. Tell me what Harold's House's role is in all of that.
So we do, and Angelina County is fantastic with all these community service organizations, nonprofits working together to make sure that all of these kids and cases get the attention they deserve. Harold's House works at the beginning stages of these investigations directly with law enforcement and CPS primarily, to make sure that these kids' stories are accurately recorded, interviewed, and recorded, that we get, so this kid isn't having to go around and tell these horrible acts that have happened against them to 8 different people. They don't have to tell the friend, and then the school counselor, and then the law enforcement, and then CPS, and then the district attorney. They can come to us first, get one interview that's recorded, it's neutral, non-leading, get their story, and then that kid can go on to heal from that without having to repeat that and relive that over and over.
And you utilize specialized counselors who are trained in this type of interviewing process.
So we do have specially trained forensic interviewers. We have family advocates that help them with things like crime victims compensation and counseling referrals. We do have specialized counselors that have specific certifications on trauma-focused counseling behaviors. So yeah, there's a huge support staff around the advocacy center that makes us a very effective tool.
And then also working with law enforcement. I think you've said in the past that they can be a part of that process without being in the room.
Yes, they can. So a lot of times, you set an 8-year-old child next to an officer in a uniform with a gun on his hip, and as much as he's there to help, they're going to clam up a little bit. Yeah. So instead, he's in an observation room watching live this interview happening with one of our forensic interviewers, who's dressed much like you or I and sitting in comfortable chairs and just having a conversation with the child and getting this story in a much more child-friendly environment.
Right. Yeah. So how long has Harold's House been around?
Harold's House was formed in 2002 here in Angelina County. So we've since gone on. We also cover Nacogdoches and Sabine County. So we've been around for about...
Do you have offices in those counties as well, or does it all feed back into this office?
We have an office in Nacogdoches, and we travel, or Sabine County travels to us in Lufkin.
And you are managed by, you're a nonprofit, so you're managed by a local board.
Yes.
Correct. Okay, so for the month of April, what events are we looking at?
So we had our pinwheel display, which you saw on Temple Boulevard going into Crown Colony, where our primary headquarters is. That's a fantastic static display that just drives home. There's also the Family Crisis Center puts together a prevention in the park, which we'll have speakers at as well. The Child Welfare Board will host a balloon release at the courthouse. We're hosting a free movie night for kids in Nacogdoches, movie in the park. Our calendar is on our website, and there's just lots of stuff to be involved in. A lot we'll do jointly with the Family Crisis Center, a couple things on our own, but really just taking part in safety talks and safety fairs and
It's getting the word out.
It's getting the word out this month.
And tell me your website address.
www.heraldshouse.org.
Okay, heraldshouse.org. So if you'd like more information about the events going on with Harold's House, you can go out and take a look at their website.
Yes.
And then also give you a call. And what is that phone number?
936-634-1999.
All right, good. I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm glad you knew that. All right, Deanna.
I can give out my cell phone number this time.
Yeah, right. So thank you for joining us, and best of luck with the events in April, and keep up the great work out there.
Thank you.
So we're with Texas Bible College, and for the past 3 years, it's like a group of 10 of us that come out every year and just kind of help. And we put out pinwheels, and we just kind of volunteer and help them inside Harold's House with different projects that they need done. And this year, I think they're just helping with some decor for their fundraiser, the purse bingo that they do. So the pinwheels, the red ones, they represent the children that have been directly affected, that have been abused, and then the blue ones, they represent family members or secondary abuse victims. So there are 350, that's just for the year. So there's been 350 for this year that have been directly abused and affected, and Harold's House has taken in and taken care of. And then there's been 846 siblings or parents that have been affected by abuse. And we just help them put them out. It's just to raise awareness and to represent them.
The annual Hearts for Hope dinner and auction was a success once again. Guests were treated to a delicious chicken fried steak dinner, and there was no shortage of desserts all up for auction. All proceeds from the annual fundraiser benefit the Mosaic Center in Lufkin. Now celebrating its 13th year, the Mosaic Center is a nonprofit organization that offers education and guidance to disadvantaged women throughout Angelina County. They currently offer a variety of classes in their 12-week core program, which includes Jobs for Life training, GED and adult basic education, computer skills, resume writing, mock interviews, personal money management, 7 decisions curriculum, nutrition, fitness and exercise, CPR training, food handler certification, and much more. If you'd like to learn more about the Mosaic Center, visit them online at mosaiccenter.org. In Lufkin, spring is synonymous with many things, including festivals and special events. One of the city's favorite events is Pour and Explore, a fantastic dining experience that features a 5-course dinner and, of course, fine wine. Tara Watson-Watkins, director of the Convention and Visitors Bureau, says this new event has created a lot of interest in and around the community.
So this is our 6th annual Pour and Explore. It's a great partnership between Brookshire Brothers and the Lufkin Convention and Visitors Bureau. It's one more way that we are trying to make Lufkin and East Texas a wine and food destination. The great thing about Pour and Explore is that we are actually doing a sit-down dinner. It's a 5-course meal. Our chef, Kate Rudisil, who is over the catering department at Brookshire Brothers, prepares with her team the incredible meal. And then we pair wine with each. Tonight we're featuring Becker. So we're really excited to be featuring a Texas winery from Fredericksburg. The winemaker is here. He'll be telling throughout each course when a new wine is brought out paired with a new meal. He'll be telling about each wine, the background of it, why it's maybe named what it is, what it has in it. So it's really more of an educational experience than what you might see at Lufkin's Bistro or Quirks and Forks. But it's just one more reason to say you'll love Lufkin.
Pour and Explore is just one example of several similar events that take place in Lufkin throughout the year. To stay up to date with what's coming up next, be sure to check out visitlufkin.com and click on the events calendar. Local businesses have teamed up with the Lufkin Noon Lions Club to show their support for local law enforcement. Grilling their famous burgers, the Lions Club members are helping to raise money to enhance law enforcement efforts throughout the city and county. We went to check it out and spoke with City Councilman Rocky Thigpen to learn more about this new endeavor.
It's called Bullet. Bullet, which stands for Businesses Understanding Local Law Enforcement of East Texas. It was organized by a group of businessmen here in town that wanted to assist law enforcement with donations from Angelina County, and it's designed to help law enforcement of Angelina County. Any agency, whether it's an LISD or it's an ISD, anybody in the county, any small agency that needs equipment, these guys wanted to be available to get that equipment if they needed it. So that's kind of what we had a fundraiser in 2016, and we're having this one when we think it's going to be a great success, because law enforcement, sometimes they just need a little help. We've helped Lufkin PD, we've helped the Central ISD, the Sheriff's Office. We've helped anybody that comes to us and asks. So it's a good organization, and it is a 501c3 through the IRS. So it's a nonprofit.
In addition to accepting donations, the group raffled off a unique piece of Texas law enforcement memorabilia that will be quite the collector's item.
We're raffling a gun off that a Texas Ranger carried. Was the oldest active Texas Ranger in the state of Texas. So he carried that gun, he qualified with it, he carried it on and off duty. And so he was willing to give it to us, and we're raffling it. Is what we're selling $20 raffle tickets. We served hamburgers and chips and drinks, and just brought out local law enforcement to mingle with the public.
While this was the second annual Burger Bash for the Bullet organization, they hope to host more fundraising events later this year. We're talking about the upcoming bond issue for Lufkin Independent School District. A lot of great information out there, a lot of questions being asked, and so we thought we'd just go to the source and find out some of the things that we need to clear up, some of the facts that need to be brought out about the bond issue. So, ladies, thank you for joining us on City Hall
Yana, for having us.
Update. So, Dr. Goffney, so tell me, why do we need a bond election?
You know, Yana, we have been looking at our facilities since I arrived over 5 years ago, and looking at how we can continue to make them the very best for all of our students, including the safety aspect. You know, and the different things that are happening in the nation and in the state, and things that have happened even this week and this month. I'm proud to have a board who is cognizant of the safety aspect, and the campus that has some vulnerabilities is our Lufkin Middle School. I don't know if you realize it, but our Lufkin Middle School has over 100 entrances. 100 entrances.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's spread out over 21 buildings. We have over 1,700 kids who go amongst those buildings 3 to 8 times a day. And so when you look at that, you look at the fact that there's no enclosure. We live in a totally different time. You know, there was a time when my grandmother would leave the door unlocked. And we had schools that were open as they are, but there's no way, or it would be very difficult for us to secure our middle school campus because of all of the different ways that you can get in.
All right, and so, correct me if I'm wrong, but that middle school used to be the high school,
It
right?
used to be the high school, and it used to house 3 grade levels. It was 10, 11, and 12. But we had a bond issue in 1995 that told us that the community wanted a brand new high school. So that's when it was moved to the Loop. And the existing high school then became the middle school. And it's had very little work done to it since then. In 1995, we built an additional classroom wing to handle 6th grade. And in 2007, we built a wing for science and mathematics to have updated labs. But other than that, no work has been done to Lufkin Middle School.
So what grades, is it just 6th grade in Lufkin Middle School?
6th, 7th, and 8th.
6th, 7th, and 8th, okay.
But, you know, holding 1,700 students, there was some concern about having enough classroom space. So an additional wing was added when we moved from there, and that became a middle school.
And you really know a lot about the middle school, right?
Well, I started my teaching career at the middle school there where it was the high school. Yeah, so I'm very familiar with that.
And the other thing is, too, in addition to like safety, there's the it's a very old building, as she alluded to. But
Careful now.
Wait a minute. Now, and why are we saying careful?
Because prior to it being the middle school that it is, it was once the high school. The building was built in 1955, and my dear partner here, she was born in 1955.
Yes, but I do like to say I'm better maintained than the middle school. I've had a little more work done.
I agree.
Well, thank you.
But think about that. I alluded to 1955 was a totally different time. Our times have changed. And in addition, I have friends who love old houses and so on and so forth. And so there's a certain level of maintenance that has to be attributed to having an older house. And when we think about some of the issues at our middle school, if we were to address the HVAC issues. We have a situation in one of our wings where the HVAC system is antiquated because originally when it was built in 1955, there wasn't an HVAC. No air conditioning.
No air
So
conditioning.
when they added it, some issues have come out of that. So if we were just to address that HVAC, if you've ever gone to a basketball game and a dance competition in an auditorium, we can't air condition both facilities. We have to run one or the other.
Yeah.
In addition, at the time, there's not a competition gym for our middle school students, so they have a little gym that was the girls' gym, I think, back in the day, and it's the one gym. It's not air conditioned, and in addition to that, it has some significant plumbing issues. So it's an older facility, and so just to take care of the general maintenance issues would be anywhere from $5 to $10 million.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't even be able to tell to take care of electrical, plumbing, and HVAC. In addition, with 21 different buildings and 100 entrances, I want you to guess, how much do you think we spend on electricity per year at Lufkin Middle School?
I have no idea.
If you were to guess.
I don't know.
At Lufkin Middle School, we spend over $500,000
Wow.
for electricity. 100 entrances, 21 separate buildings, kids are coming and going all day. That's significant and it's inefficient. And it just goes to show what happens when you have a facility that was built in 1955.
Yeah, right. Because you don't have, they don't build. Obviously, things are built different than
And
they
people
were
may
then.
not know that even those buildings, because of their age, they're not wired for technology like you would like your classrooms to be wired. The only reason that the Lufkin Middle School campus gets technology and internet is because that pipeline comes from our technology building, which is located on the front of the campus. You can't go into those older wings that were built in 1955 and go in and wire them for the internet.
Right.
They don't have enough plugs. In this day and age, when you're using projectors and you're using smart boards or whatever, some of those rooms only have 2 electrical plugs, and you've got to plug everything in. So we have extension cords going everywhere. It's just not safe.
So we've established the reasoning behind the bond, calling for a bond. What will it do? If it passes, what will the money be used for?
80%, it's a $75 million bond. 80% of the bond would be used to rebuild our Lufkin Middle School.
In the same location?
We love the fact that it's going to be the same location. We work with a local architect, and it will be built in the same location.
And how does that work?
In phases.
Well, our architect has come up with a plan where we can stage construction, and some of the buildings can stay. There are the auditorium, the competition gym that is now used by the high school will revert to the middle school, our band hall, and those 2 new wings that I talked about being built in science and math and the 6th grade wing. They can stay, but they can be remodeled and incorporated into the design. But every other building that's currently there, the plan is for it to go to the ground, for it to be demolished, and for new to be built on that footprint. The architect has come up with a plan where we can build some buildings, move into them, just demolish and build new, and so we're constantly moving students. It will be a challenge over the 2.5 years of construction, but it can be done with the least amount of problem and impact on students and so forth. So now the architect has come up with a footprint. It allows for 9 extra classrooms and a little bit of student growth, but frankly, because our middle school is so large anyway, we don't want it to become larger. That's not the goal, but to have
But at least maybe one big facility.
Oh, it would definitely be one. Go from over 100 entrances to about 10.
About 10,
Yeah.
because it's designed on a Main Street concept. And if you've ever been in our high school, they have a Main Street. Theirs looks like a boomerang. Ours at middle school would be designed like a T. And once the students enter that building, they would not have to leave unless they were going to the gym or to the field house at the end of the day to participate in football. So it houses everybody under one roof, and it protects the students from the elements, because right now they're moving 7 times a day. If it's raining, they're still going out in the rain. They're doing all that, so it would protect them.
So 80% of the $75 million bond would go for 280,000 square feet for the new middle school. Of course, we're proud to be efficient and utilize the 80,000 square feet that she has. So 200,000 square feet of new, up-to-date middle school.
From the ground
up would be built, 80%. 13% would be used because we don't realize it because it's the Lufkin way, but we don't have a competition gym for our 1,700 students at Lufkin Middle School. We don't have a competition gym. The Panther Gym is being used by our high school students, and we have over 100 students who travel throughout the day back and forth to the high school to compete, or to the baseball or softball fields, which we'll talk about. But we would, instead of building a competition gym on the campus, the most reasonable thing to do is to take the Panther Gym from the high school kids, and that allows them to remain on their campus, which is the norm for most school districts, and have a multi-purpose center built on the high school campus. So 13%, which could arguably be stated that it's for the middle school, will be used to build a multi-purpose center at the high school, so that our kids won't have to travel, and so that our 2,100 kids would have a place to go. Because at our high school, and I bet you can't imagine, I know you're from Corrigan, right? Well, you have assemblies. Our high school can't have an assembly because there's nowhere,
No place for them to gather.
No place for them to gather. Our high school, the only place they can gather, and again, it's a safety issue as well, but the only place they can gather is out on the football field at the stadium. That's it.
And you hope you have that nice weather.
Nice weather.
But I mean, you mentioned growing up in Corrigan, we could all meet in a classroom. So. We never had an issue. We had plenty of places for an assembly. But yeah, that makes perfect sense.
And then the other issue is, if we're going to protect the travel of the basketball and volleyball players over to the middle school to that gym, we also have to take into account that our baseball and softball players are driving across town to Morris Frank Park. Sometimes at the beginning of the day, sometimes at the end of the day, depending on if it's off season or during season. So the plan would be to build fields on the high school campus. And then it's not the norm. If you don't have transportation, you think about it, it's almost an equity issue whether or not you can be a member of the team. Now we do provide,
you can't get there.
You can't get there. We do provide buses, but
who wants to ride the bus?
Nobody wants to ride the bus out there. And then you still have a transportation issue because the bus isn't going to bring you back after it's over to the high school. So your parent still has to go all the way out to Morris Frank Park and pick you up. And those are great fields, and I know our teams and our boosters are very attached to them, but it's almost an equity issue that it needs to be on the high school campus. And it's not the norm.
It just makes it so much easier.
Right. And, you know.
And like you said, safer. You know, the underlying, what I'm hearing you say, the underlying issue, I mean, yeah, it's great to have new buildings and everything, but it's safety.
All is safety. It's everything
safety.
is safety.
And, you know, you can't be over cautious in this day and time. You know, when you turn on the TV every week and seeing something tragic happen at a school or a business, you know.
It's been a Lufkin way with the traveling. It is. It's kind of, they talk about it in fun, they tell stories, but all it's going to take is one thing to go wrong, and we're going to have had an opportunity to address it. You know, it's just one of those things that there is a liability associated with it.
Okay, so the early voting will take place April 23rd through May 1st, so that's right around the corner. And then, of course, the election day is May 5th. Again, it's $75 million bond. You vote yes or you vote no.
And I can't tell you which way to vote. We just want you to vote.
You're just providing the facts and what you're hoping to do with that money if the bond passes. Do we know how that will impact? Can someone speak to that, or how it impacts taxpayers?
The impact to taxpayers, the average price of a home in Lufkin is $125,000. So if you figure that in the tax impact per month, it would be on the high side about $23 a month. Now, one thing you need to notice is that if you own your home outright, you will actually see that $23 leave your hand because you'll have to pay your taxes. If you don't own your home outright and it's owned by the bank and you're having a mortgage, that will be figured into your payments, or it will be figured into your equity conversion table or whatever. If you're a renter, you don't pay property taxes in this way. If you're over 65...
Are you over 65?
I'm not, but my husband is.
And he's not as well-maintained as she is,
He's
right?
not as well-maintained, and he's much older, but the very first thing he did when he turned 65 was to go down to the appraisal district and have the freeze put on your property taxes. Now, unless I can convince him to build a new kitchen or to build something into the home, our taxes will stay the same. So the impact to anybody who's over 65 will, again, not be there. Their taxes are frozen. And so anyway, and that's concerning.
Yeah, and that's an important point to remember as well, because those people who are over 65 who really keep an eye on, I mean, not that we all don't,
Well,
but that is more critical usually for those at 65 and older.
And when we
incomes.
say $23 a month, we figured on the very cautious side, we figured that property taxes will not go up at all. There will not be a new business located here. There will not be any growth in property taxes. And so we figured on the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
The other thing we figured on is selling these bonds. If you sell them all at once or whatever, we figured on a rate of about 4% interest. And right now, bonds are selling. A couple sold last week, and the city refinanced some things, and it was like 3.3. So we figured on the high side.
Yeah.
We've also figured on the high side on our estimates on 75 million because we've not designed the building. So there's a range, and we've picked a place in that range to say 75 million, and we hope we come in under that. Again, our goal is to be frugal and to respect the impact on the taxpayers.
Absolutely.
But to also provide something for our students because they deserve to be safe and they deserve to have adequate facilities to be learners in the 21st century.
Absolutely. Okay, ladies, thank you for joining us on City Hall Update and sharing that information with us, with our viewers. Again, the early voting period is April 23rd through May 1st. The election day is May 5th. Go down, you'll vote on a $75 million bond request. You vote yes, you vote no, and then we will
Go from there.
go from there. We'll figure out what we have to do from there.
There you go.
Okay, so thank you for joining us, and we appreciate you ladies coming on. And if anybody wants any other information, how will they
They can
get
go
that?
to our website, lufkinisd.org, and we have links provided with this information, and they can see diagrams of the plans and so forth on that site.
And then I noticed you all are passing out these cards,
actual
just
information.
actual information. If you want one of these cards, I'm sure you can pick one up at the school district administration offices. It also has the polling locations and times on here. So this is a great card to stick on your refrigerator. If you want more information, go to the website and check it out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Lufkin is home to a variety of parks and other outdoor facilities that are available to the public for their enjoyment. However, sometimes these venues aren't left the way they were found by park goers. In fact, cleaning up the facilities can be a full-time job for the Lufkin Parks and Recreation Department. But thanks to one good Samaritan, the Lufkin Park staff was pleasantly surprised when they recently arrived at a park expecting the same old routine of picking up trash. Mike Akridge, Director of Parks and Recreation for the City of Lufkin, tells us what his staff found when they arrived at the complex.
It was a barbecue. Ended up being a barbecue cook-off. They had a bunch of teams out there cooking barbecue. They called and reserved the park like anybody does, and it was for family. And then they want to get a little bigger, so they invited some of their friends, and some of those friends invited friends, and they went and had some trophies made. Had a big thing in the park. Had a barbecue cook-off, and they were utilizing everything out in the park. Swings. The kids were playing basketball. Adults were playing washers. Just having a great time in the park. If we'd known how big it was, we'd have brought extra trash cans. We can be proactive and stuff like that and bring out more trash cans. And because they tried to hit the trash can best they could, but still, there's no doubt there was trash in the park. There's no doubt. So, someone said it was some of the homeowners around there. I don't know. I personally I don't know. I just know that I always got some calls said the park was not pretty dirty looking. Sunday morning, I was in church, and so I said, well, I'm gonna drive through there, and I did. I drive through after church, and it all been picked up. And it wasn't us, because what I was going to go do, I was going to call our maintenance people and say, hey, I need a couple of guys to come out today and let's, tidy up the park. And because I drove by, and there were bags and bags of trash up against, the black bags. They were up against the trash receptacles that we have out there. So someone, a good Samaritan, they came and cleaned up the park. So that doesn't happen every day. No, it doesn't.
So to our good Samaritans that took it upon themselves to clean up the park, thank you. Now, if you want to host larger events, such as a family reunion or wedding, you can simply call to have the park reserved.
They call the Parks and Recreation, our downtown office, and there's no charge for outdoor facilities. We charge we have 2 indoor facilities, but all of our outdoor facilities, there's no charge. but we have their information, and we tell them things they can't do. I mean, there's a thing on the card that says, no loud music, no alcohol. That's one of the things they had in this here that the police were called out a couple of times, said the music was a little loud. They had a DJ there, but we have that in every park. We have that in every park all the time, that people are having some kind of party in the park. They want to have a big graduation party or a family reunion or whatever they have, So churches have all kind of functions in the parks. And this probably had close to 200 people. So it was it was a lot of people, and that's our job. That's what we thrive on. We want people to utilize our parks, especially summertime. That call the Parks and Recreation, and we encourage people to use our facilities. We ask people to clean them after themselves, but we encourage people to come out and use the parks and enjoy them, and especially in the summertime when people have time on their hands to make it fun for everybody.
When he finishes, I want you guys to stand on your feet. Scream to the top of your lungs, and if you're feeling good, kiss somebody next to you. Then you can show some love, and we can get the meeting started off the right way. Let's hear it for your home team, the hometown heroes! Police? Can you shoot? Hey, you know what? Take him for a ride. What? What? Hey, put him down. Put him down. Put him down. What are you doing? Potato chips, Chick-fil-A, nachos, cotton candy, Reese's, and a Diet Coke. Give it up for A-Train, he's in the game. And the home team wins the tip. Here we go. He's playing back with that one up. Which way did it go? We got a foul on Kevin Hart. What are you doing, A-Train? He looks like Michael Jordan in the 3rd grade. Number two, that worked. No. You need to tuck in your shirt. It's sloppy. Not like that. Not like that. This is the live wire! The lost member of the Backstreet Boys is playing tough defense on the live wire. Heartbeat sound. We fell in love. sure. Baby Doogie Howser! Yes! Hey, man. Oh, man. Hey, what's your name, man? What's your name? Javier, what's your name? Javier. Can't be original, huh? Hey, give it up for Javier Square. Give him a round of applause. All right. Put your arms out. Keep your head on the floor. Bend your knees. Whoa! Ow! Home team on defense. Whoever hasn't played, go in the game.
That's all for this edition of City Hall Update. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you will continue to watch for the latest news and information from Lufkin City Hall. I'm Yana Ogletree. Have a great day.